Hi, everyone. Welcome to Music. We are continuing to explore music of the 20th century, and today we are going to start on a new decade. Today we are going to learn about music from the 1960s. Now, this decade was only about 60 years ago, so you might know someone who was born in the 60s, maybe a parent or grandparent or your teacher. It really wasn't that long ago. So, here are some of the major events that happened in this decade. The Vietnam War, which actually began in the 1950s, continued all throughout this decade and into the 1970s. Millions of American troops fought in the conflict, so lots of families were affected by the Vietnam War. The civil rights movement also continued from the 50s through the 60s, and Martin Luther King Jr. made his famous I Have a Dream speech in 1963. Another major event was that U.S. astronauts landed on the moon in 1969. Remember the space race that started in the 1950s? Well, the Russians got the first cosmonaut into space, but the United States got to the moon first. And finally, the Woodstock Music and Art Fair also took place in 1969. So let's talk some more about Woodstock. It was a huge event. In August 1969, more than 400,000 people attended the Woodstock Music Festival in Bethel, New York, which is near Woodstock, New York. Woodstock was organized because people wanted to demonstrate love, peace, and community through music. Think about all the things that were going on in the world at that time: the Vietnam War, the protests, the fights for equal rights. People wanted to focus on love and peace at the time. 32 performers appeared during the 3-day festival, including Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, The Who, Joan Baez, Jefferson Airplane, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, Santana, The Grateful Dead, Creedence Clearwater Revival, and Sly and the Family Stone. These were just a few of the acts that were at Woodstock, and they were well-known and influential musicians of the time. Okay, let's listen to some music of the 1960s. This week we're going to explore music from the rock style. In this decade, there were several different types of rock, and we'll talk a little bit about each one. While you listen, try to identify what type of guitar is playing the song, right? Rock music has guitars. There might be more than one guitar, so pay attention. Also, one of these performers played at Woodstock. Do you remember which one? We just talked about them a minute ago. And we may listen to their song. We'll see. When the song is over, we'll go on to the next slides and talk about the answers. All right, so here are some famous rockers from the 60s. And one of the types of rock in that decade was blues rock. That's a hybrid that combines blues and rock. Makes sense, right? It usually had electric guitars, bass and drums, and sometimes had keyboards or harmonica. Blues rock features improvisation, 12-bar phrases, and extended jams and solos. So let's listen for just a minute to some Muddy Waters blues rock.
Just a woman told my mother before I was born, you got a boy child coming, gonna be a son of a gun.
All right, so that's some blues rock. You've probably heard that guitar melody before. It's a very famous blues riff. All right, the next type of rock is surf rock, which is rock music with multi-track vocal harmony, pioneered by the Beach Boys, who we're going to listen to in a minute. The music itself wasn't that unique, but the lyrics, talking about surfing and activities common to California or other beachy areas, made it very popular. So the music was pretty standard rock music, but singing about surfing and summer in California is what made it surf rock. Let's listen to the Beach Boys.
If everybody had an ocean across the USA, then everybody'd be surfing like California.
Right? They're literally singing about surfing in California. All right, the next type of rock popular in the 60s was folk rock, another combination, right? Folk and rock. It combined the stories of folk music with the sounds and instruments of rock music. And this is Bob Dylan. This is one of the most famous folk singers ever. Let's listen to one of his songs for a minute.
sea before she sleeps in the sand.
Okay, so that's folk rock. And then finally, we're going to listen to this whole song. This is psychedelic rock. This really came about in the 1960s. Now, psychedelic means an altered state of mind, kind of like a dream or a fantasy world. So the feelings and sounds, like guitar distortion or special effects, of this type of music were meant to engage your imagination, make you feel like you were in another place. So let's listen to a psychedelic rock song by Jimi Hendrix. This song is called Purple Haze. What kind of guitar is that? Great shot of that guitar. We got a drummer. There it is again. Notice Jimmy holds his guitar backwards. He's left-handed. He holds it upside down from most guitar players. There's another bass guitar. What kind of guitar is that? Just the end of time. Okay, let's talk about Purple Haze. As I said earlier, rock music usually features guitar, so what type of guitar was in that song? Did you see and hear an electric guitar or an acoustic guitar? Pause and make your choice. I hope you said electric guitar. Jimi Hendrix was famous for playing the electric guitar. His looked a lot like this. He had a Fender guitar, and as I mentioned, he was left-handed, so he held the guitar the opposite way from most guitarists. Okay, Woodstock was a major event of the 1960s. Did we listen to the performer that played at Woodstock in 1969? Do you remember? Only one of those performers from the rock page was at Woodstock. Was it Jimi Hendrix? Pause the video and make your choice. I hope you said yes, Jimi Hendrix was at Woodstock. Bob Dylan and the Beach Boys and Muddy Waters were not at Woodstock. Jimi Hendrix was the only one of those rockers that was there, so I hope you remembered that. And we're going to end with an opinion question. Live concerts and festivals, not just Woodstock, but any concert, was very popular in the 1960s. If Jimi Hendrix were still alive, would you want to see him in concert? Yes, please buy me a ticket, or no thanks, I'll pass. Pause and make your choice. Well, I hope you liked Jimi Hendrix, and if you didn't, that's okay. Now, we're going to do things a little differently this time. We are not done yet. I want you to click right here, click right on your screen, and this will take you to the playlist of 1960s music. There is so much amazing music from this decade. We can't just listen to one song today. I want you to click here, and I want you to pick one more song. It can be any genre. It doesn't have to be rock. It could be pop. It could be R&B. It could be anything. And there won't be any questions, so just listen for fun, and then we'll be done with music for the day, and I'll see you next time.